Thank you, councillors. Thank you, members of the public. Thank you, staff, and anyone joining us online. I'll declare this agenda briefing session open. For those who haven't attended a briefing session before, this isn't a decision-making forum. This is an opportunity to review the agenda for next Tuesday and elected members to ask any questions of the officers on the report to form their opinion before making decisions next week and debating. We are all here. Thank you all. I have received a couple of declarations of interest. I do have a financial interest from Councillor Andrew on 10.1.9, the Tree Street Heritage Area. And I do have a financial interest from Councillor Steck on the confidential item at the end of the report. That is a financial interest, and both of those will be leaving the room for those discussions. And then I have two impartial interests from Councillor Steele on item 10.1.9 and 15.1.1, the confidential item as well. They're both impartial, so Councillor Steele will be in the room for both of those. Is there any other declarations of interest? Thank you, councillors, and I intend just to work our way through the agenda this evening. We do have received one deputation for item 10.1.9, and we will deal with that when we get to that item. Ken, we'll work through then. Thank you. We'll just jump straight into the agenda itself. Thanks, Minute Taker. So we'll just jump straight into all those items are on there. So a number of policies for review here, councillors. Item 10.1.1, was there any questions on that? Thank you. 10.1.2. Thank you. 10.1.3. Thank you. 10.1.4. Thank you. 10.1.5. Thank you. 10.1.6. Thank you. 10.1.7. Thank you. 10.1.8.
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, Councillor Gassett. Oh, good. I was about to make a comment that for members of the public, we do have a policy committee which obviously goes through these and has those conversations. So it's not just being ticked off. But Councillor Gassett, you had a question on this one.
Yep, the delegations, Mr. Mayor. I didn't want to let this go through without asking a question.
Sure.
So I just need to confirm that insurances are a delegated authority.
CEO, insurances.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd need to double check that, but normally the insurances would be something that would be delegated to the CEO. As you know, we use the LGIS as our insurer, but I'm happy to take that on notice, Councillor Gassett, if that's appropriate.
Follow-up question, Councillor, if that's okay. Thank you. Any other questions on this item? Thank you. 10.1.9 is the proposed Tree Street Heritage Area. Mr. Lyon. Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Andrew first. Yeah, you can come up at the same time. It's okay. Councillor Andrew is just leaving us for now. So, Mr. Lyon, we've obviously been through this before. You have 10 minutes for your deputation. This isn't an opportunity for a back and forth with elected members. It's a chance for you to raise your position, use your time, and obviously elected members can ask any questions on your behalf afterwards, or can speak to you or any of the members of the public afterwards as well. But
right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Councillors, City of Bunbury CEO, members of the City Executive, City staff, residents, and members of the public. My name is Kent Lyon. I'm a resident, small business owner, and architect in the proposed Tree Street Heritage Area. I'd like to support the recommendation that the Tree Street Heritage Area proposal not proceed. There has been a consensus that this proposal should not proceed on three grounds. One, the community consultation process overwhelming results against the proposal from submissions made by the public in 2023. Sorry, throat's a bit sore. 2, council officers recommended that the proposal not proceed after reviewing the submissions and the consultation results. 3, after reviewing both the submissions, the city's recommendation, the Heritage Advisory Committee recommended overwhelmingly that the proposal not proceed. So I'd ask the council reflect on this when reviewing the submissions and the recommendations of the council officers and the Heritage Advisory Committee. This proposal should not proceed. A previous attempt in 2003, 2004, of which I was a part of, to make the Tree Street Heritage Area failed in the first of a two-stage process due to the lack of community support. So I want to outline 3 reasons why this proposal should not progress as recommended. These include no proper consultative process, 2, Tree Street Heritage Area assessment, and the flaws of the local planning policy. First, the consultative process. In December 2021, the council engaged Stephen Carrick Architects to undertake the Tree Street Heritage Area assessment. This was done without informing the residents prior to, during, or after the report was published in September 2022. Residents were only informed of this report at the start of the consultation process in July 2023. Furthermore, the reports section limitation states the review brief did not include internal inspections or consultation with occupants or community groups. This conflicts with and fails to follow the State Heritage Office publication, Guidelines for Assessing Local Heritage Places, which states, can have an input from various groups or individuals with relevant knowledge, and further states, as part of the assessment process, consultation should be undertaken with relevant stakeholders. So the starting point for this consultation should have started before the assessment in 2022 was undertaken, and then made freely available afterwards, and ideally with the public consultation session. This also begs the question of who benefits. Is it the individuals of the Tree Street Heritage Area, the community, or the council? And still trying to figure out what the problem is that we're trying to fix. So this whole issue to do with consultation versus co-production is how we got here. It must be the question is this the stick and carrot approach witnessed in the East Bunbury Heritage Area? And why doesn't the council take the landowners on the journey by genuinely consulting with them from early on when they are looking at carrying out another assessment for the Tree Street area? The council could have saved much stress and strain in the community and within the council itself. Next, the Tree Street Heritage Area assessment, which was basically each property had a half-page tick box, and it needed to have more help for the community to actually understand what made some of these places high, moderate, and little or no contribution. In fact, in the public meeting, Gary Barber described the survey as a high-level survey. As such, it lacked the detail required to determine whether or not a proposal for a heritage area was reasonable. This makes the key document flawed. In the Tree Street area, there are several heritage-listed properties that already enjoy the necessary protections. The State Heritage Office publication Guidelines for Heritage Areas states, a heritage area should not be created simply because a collective of diverse individual heritage places are located close together, and a heritage area is not simply a mechanism for protecting places that fall below the threshold for the heritage list. This is the case for the Tree Street area. So basically, throwing a blanket over an area as opposed to individual listings of places is not the true mechanism for protecting places. I've been involved in one such debate up in one of the Perth councils where they tried this. They have a whole area that's heritage protected, as a heritage area, sorry. But this individual property didn't have any listing of any kind and therefore was up for demolition. And this idea of preserving in amber, let's face the facts. Neighborhoods change and evolve. We want to keep the best examples from various periods. Otherwise, they're just going to stagnate. If I can get to the flaws in the local planning policy, I'll just briefly go through a couple of items. The objectives, of for under 3.0 objectives to conserve heritage areas. Can I just point out, no place has been added to the register of the local heritage survey, and therefore the heritage list since the municipal heritage inventory was first created, and even further back to the Ian Molyneux 1978 survey of the national estate for Bunbury. Point B is to ensure the development does not adversely affect the significance of the heritage area. Only 16 dwellings have been demolished in the last 28 years. For 17 years, there were no demolitions. 7 years, they had 1 demolition, and 2 years had 4 demolitions. And in 1 year, there has been 3 demolitions. So with 302 homes in the area, it would take over 500 years to demolish them all at that rate. C, ensure the heritage significance is given due weight in local planning decision-making. Again, this is a very subjective matter of who is interpreting the heritage significance for decision-making. These policies tend to be interpreted differently by planning officers, which often leads to confusion with landowners and others in the community. Point D, provide improved certainty to landowners and community about the planning processes for heritage identification and protections. Based on the current approach, there needs to be more clarity amongst landowners and community about the benefits this process would actually bring to the community. The landowners have not been brought along through this process, as pointed out before. The council would have learned from the issues raised in 2003, 2004 in the attempt to bring in a heritage area for the Tree Street. Point E, allow development without the need for approval where it can be achieved without impacts on heritage significance. Again, I'll just refer back to point C in terms of who's the subjectiveness of that. Point F, which is a bit of a long one, but clarify the format and content of the accompanying material in accordance with the clauses 63(1), D, and 63(3). Schedule 2 of the Planning and Development, Local Planning Schemes, Regulations 2015. That's just a mouthful saying it, but why not put it actually into the document? Why isn't it not stated into the local planning policy? It's point 4, application subjects of this policy. So the boundaries, I'm just not sure why these boundaries were expanded from the 2004 assessment. That was the starting point. Why did it get expanded? There's only one note about that, and it said during the 2004 analysis of the Tree Street Heritage Area, the study area included Cary, Jarrah, Banksia, Stockley Road, Beach Road, and included a section of Tuart Street, whereas this latest study's been expanded out further. I'll move on to point 6, so cultural heritage significance of the Tree Street Heritage Area. This is incorrect. The proclamation of the town site did not occur at the Bunbury Primary School in 1841. On the 21st of December, 1836, the pavilion at the Bunbury Primary School marks the meeting site between Governor Stirling and Lieutenant Bunbury. Stirling informed Lieutenant Bunbury that the town at Port Leshnell was to be named in his honor. Therefore, a township was formed, a formal christening without a birth, and Stirling named it Bunbury, where he intended to reestablish the military station, where under Bunbury's command. That's taken from Excellent Connections, a publication that was actually supported by the City of Bunbury, or sponsored by the City of Bunbury. Point 7, contribution of individual places. This is the last bit here. So the local planning policy, table 2, the contribution of individual places is inconsistent with the State Heritage Office documents on guidelines for heritage areas. Point 9, development control. If the
Mr. Ryan,
tree,
I'll just draw your attention, that was 10 minutes, but I'm happy to give you a minute or so to summarise.
I've got
it. Just
two points. Okay, if the Tree Street Heritage Area is so unique, why are the diagrams, I won't go through every point, copied from the East Bunbury Heritage Area document? Examples from the specific Tree Street area would better suit a local planning policy. And last but not least, the public realm. I must highlight the streets, trees under the element intent and element objective. This is different from what contributes the highest public amenity to the area. As mentioned, the council needs to consider underground power to get some buy-in rather than making a one side of the fence policy document. There needs to be a concerted effort here. Underground power and traffic calming measures come to mind, and in the changing climate, other considerations would be weaving better stormwater drainage measures with endemic plant species. So all is not lost. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lyon. Thank you for that. And I know there's probably a number of members here in the public who are here for this item and maybe some online. So just to give clarity for those as well, this item as seen behind you is obviously the officer's recommendation, which was also agreed upon and voted through the Heritage Advisory Committee as well, which is before the councillors to vote on next week. So, any questions, councillors? Councillor Gassett.
Mr Mayor, I'm just wondering with the executive recommendation, not proceed, just wondering how perpetual that motion would be. Is it going to be something we can resurrect, or is it something we can just put to bed forever?
So any council decisions can always be obviously retracted, as we know, Councillor Gassett. There'll be issues around the heritage laws that we need to follow up as well, but I might just ask if the CEO, the heritage officer, was able to provide any guidance on that in terms of that one.
Thanks, Mayor. We do have Lacey Brown, our heritage strategic planning officer, who can probably make a comment on that.
Sorry, Lacey, just get the mic's not on, I don't think. No. Minute taker, how are we going there? Maybe try one of the other mics. Yeah, that's on now. It's on now. Thank you.
Any place or area can be revisited at any time. That's through the heritage legislation. So once the decision's made, it's to be reviewed.
Follow up, Councillor Gassett.
Yes, please, Mr Mayor. So if I, as a councillor, would like to make a suggestion or move an alternative motion or an amendment that this thing does get to put to bed and not be resurrected, how can I do that as a recommendation?
I'm not sure if you could put something that would be against the law, but CEO, could you provide any guidance on that?
So, Councillor Gassett, can you just explain to me what you're trying to
So
maybe do?
Effectively suggesting that part 2 would say that this not proceed ever.
I mean, my comment there would be it's up to each individual council to consider matters. So I don't think there's a way that you could absolutely make a decision such as that would stand forever, because it's open to every individual council to make, the decisions of the day.
Councillor Gassett, if you're suggesting some kind of alternative, my suggestion would be to reach out to the CEO, through the CEO, to get some wording around an alternative or what you're trying to achieve in that space. As we know, trying to do that on the fly next week. If you've got some suggestions, and then at least the CEO can provide some guidance or feedback on that from our point of view, or from the city's point of view as well. Councillor Gassett?
Mr Mayor, just are you aware, I guess I need to put in a question, that there has been some trauma and stress?
I'm not going to take that question, Councillor Gassett.
According to
Councillor
the
Gassett, I'm not
deputy-
taking that question. It's not relevant. You can use whatever you want, or you can use what you can do in your debate, but I'm not going to take that question.
Okay, so another question then. If in the future there's some law changes where council is responsible for mental or psychological harm as it is for its own employees in the future, can that be translated in a future motion where we can't go ahead with this project?
I don't have an answer for that, Councillor Gassett. See ya.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Again, I'll probably with you, I don't have an answer to Councillor Gassett's question or statement.
Mr. Mayor, I just need to make a point of order.
There's no point of orders, and we're not
No,
in
no,
a council meeting.
Another councillor has interjected and made comments about my comment.
I didn't hear them, councillor, discuss it, so.
Yeah, I was questioning the relevance of the,
Okay, councillor Turner, it would actually don't really apply standing orders in briefing sessions. If there's a relevance point of order, that can be used next week. If there's just a comment around questions, then just feel free to get my attention. But in these briefing sessions, we don't really apply standing orders on relevance. It's more respect. Councillor Steele?
In one of the questions, one of the ratepayers or one of the owners has asked about a character area. I'm just wondering why that wasn't actually put in the motion, whether we investigate the area being a character area.
Sure. CEO might have a response there from the senior officer.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll ask Lacey Brown to answer that question.
after assessing the submissions that were received during consultation, it was quite clear that there was still different grounds from members of the community as to what they saw going forward with that area. So it was decided best to recommend closing this process and for a community-driven initiative to go ahead. Any character initiative would still have to be scoped, budgeted, resourced, and we would hope to have the community support to do that. So that was the main reason.
I think the presentation from a couple of weeks ago did talk about 40% of landowners to have the community-driven work, through the CEO, is that correct?
Thank you. I'll ask Lacey Brown to answer that question.
There was some research with other local government authorities where there had been some success, and they were community-driven, where the community nominated a street or an area, and they had to have at least 40% of the properties within that area to say yes before it went any further.
Okay, thank you. Other questions on this item? Thank you, and thank you for those who are joining for that item. You can feel free to leave, feel free to stay. We have a few more items. If not, we'll see you next week. You can make deputations next week if you would like to as well. Item 10.1.10. Oh, yeah, sorry, thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Turner. I've been known to do that many times. A little ding or something up the top. Sorry, Councillor Andrew, forgot about you. We haven't gone far. Item 10.1.10. Was there any questions on this, Councillor Stack?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there any opportunity for council to actually do further research into the conflicting information from where Bunbury first began, either the Frank Boswell foreshore or indeed the school, Bunbury School, or some other close consideration area? Because quite clearly we can't proceed, well here I'm debating, but again I would ask that we have further information before continuing with this. So again I will flag a other motion on.
Sure, Councillor Stack. I know that Heritage Advisory Committee have spoken about that at length, and this has been referred back there not just once but a couple of times. But I'm happy for you to work with a flagging an alternative, and again maybe working with officers to get that in writing before next week. I could maybe advise that potentially with this item, that could be a separate item into looking into that, and maybe through the Heritage Advisory Committee to close the loop on this particular item. But obviously happy to take whatever you want to put up next week. But I'll just advise that maybe you just work with the CEO officers to get that in wording, and that may be, referring something through the Heritage Advisory Committee. But CEO, any further comment on that?
No, Mr. Mayor, thank you. That's if Councillor Stack wanted to work with myself and the staff, we'd be happy to assist.
Thank you. Questions on this one? Thank you. 10.1.11, terms of reference for the Bunbury Events Advisory Committee. Any questions? Thank you. Thank you, Lacey. Thanks, Barbara. 10.2.1 is the CEO performance indicators. Any questions? All good. Thank you. 10.3.1 financial management report. Any questions? Councillor Gassett?
Mr Mayor, just page 735.
Sure.
Insurances. I've lost the page now.
Yep.
Yep.
735.
$786,000 per annum.
Mhm.
Two questions. One, have we seen any strong trends with increase in insurance premiums? That's one. And two, what portion of that is through the local government insurance scheme, management liability protection or protection for elected members?
Sure. I'm not sure if the CEO will be able to answer either of those questions just now, but could we take a note? CEO, do you have an answer for those?
But we do have David Ransom here, the Manager of Finance, who can probably answer that in a second, Mayor. In terms of the insurance, the bulk of it is through LGIS, and there is a schedule of premiums that we can provide that show all the different types of insurance that we do have. Insurance, as we know, has been, an issue that has been increasing. The fact we're in a pooled arrangement with LGIS means we get a little bit cushioned from some of the increases that some of the other insurance companies would have. But we can certainly provide additional information outside of that, unless the Manager of Finance wants to make a further comment.
Through you, Mr Mayor, under the fact that, yes, the CEO is correct that we do all our insurances for LGIS. And as to the increased trend of insurance, we know it always goes up, but we can provide further information to council on that.
Thank you. We'll get that information during the week with the trends and the breakdown. Thank you. Further follow-up questions? Sorry,
Final
Councillor Steele.
question.
Yep. Let's go.
Can we be provided with the policy and what cover is available to elected members, please, Mr Mayor?
I think that's probably better off through the Policy Review Committee, Councillor Gassett. But CEO, I don't think that's relevant to this particular question.
Yeah, certainly, Mayor, we can provide it through the Policy Committee.
Councillor Steele?
I'm going to phrase it as a question, but I'm pretty sure, and someone can answer me, Mr Ranson, that I'm sure that when we chose LGIS as the insurance, it actually came as a motion to council, and that's why we go the way we do. And just someone
I think it might come through the zone as well, but CEO, do you have an answer on that, or Mr Ranson?
Not aware of the history here in Bunbury. I know there's been lots of work, and I know even from my time at Melville there was some motions to push away from LGIS, but all the research showed that LGIS as a tailor-made insurance scheme for local government was better value for money than alternative insurances. But David may be able to provide more detail on the council's history.
Through you, Mr Mayor, maybe I could defer this to the Manager for Governance, who was dealing with insurance at that time.
Got the right button. Thanks, Mr Mayor. The city, I'm stretching my memory here, probably about 8 years ago, actually went out to market through, it was either done through Regional Capitals or WACA, one of those two bodies, where we tested the market for insurance, basically outside of the LGIS pool. If I recall, the results of that came back that LGIS was certainly competitive in the offering that they provided in that regard. So it was definitely competitively tested, and the outcome is where we're at today.
Yeah, we might be able to get some of that information for you, Councillor Steele, as well, when that was done. Further questions?
Oh, sorry.
All good? Thank you.
No, I just have
Oh,
one,
sorry, Councillor Steck.
Just in relation to replace corporate vehicles, 171,000. How many vehicles did that actually buy?
CEO, do you have that on you by any chance? Might take that one on notice.
Yeah, I might take that on notice, Councillor Steck. So you want to know how many vehicles that were purchased. Yep.
I think it's PR 4882. Oh, that's heavy plan, but around that. That's the one, Councillor Steck.
Yes, further question, please, if I may,
Sure.
Mr Mayor. Boulders Heights redevelopment, it's 192,000. Whereabouts did that money come from? Did that come from general revenue, or did it come from the sales of and proceeds of the blocks?
So if we have that answer
Up
on it,
that way.
CEO?
Again, I don't have that level of detail, but perhaps it might be easier if we take that on notice, Councillor Steck.
She nods there. We adopted that last year, but obviously just where the funding source come from, we're not sure, but we'll get that information. Any other questions? Thank you. Item 10.3.2. All okay? Thank you. 10.3.3. All good? And we have the motion on notice there, councillors. We'll deal with next week, but obviously happy to take any questions now. Noting there's a couple of officers' comments, but a lot of the commentary on there is from Councillor Gassab, so I'll probably get him to answer any questions if there is any. Councillor Turner.
Has all the research that Councillor Gassab, has that all been verified by staff?
Councillor CEO, has it been verified by staff?
Thank you, Mayor. No, would be the short answer.
Can I have just one more question?
Sure.
In regards to the attachment that Councillor Gassab has done, I think it's 40-something pages of research,
The dossier, yep.
personal research and personal opinions. Will that be attached to the documents that, if this was passed, would be sent to, what is it, Welga?
So it's through the southwest zone, so that the motion itself will just be that the motion states that the city will advocate. So how the city, I'm the representative on the Welga Southwest Zone, so if this is successful, I'll be bringing it to the Southwest Zone, and I'll be mentioning this thing, so I'll probably be using some of the commentary and potentially getting some guidance from Council and Councillor Gassab how we want to advocate on that behalf if this is successful, but I'm not sure we'll be providing the entire dossier through that group as well, but I'm open to suggestions on how we do that.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? So we do have an item here which is confidential in nature because it deals with a tendering process. So for members of the public, we'll just ask you to leave the room and anyone online, but thank you very much. It shouldn't be too long. If you would like to join us afterwards, we'll just be closing the meeting. Councillor Steck as well has declared a financial interest.